Hello and welcome to a new channel. Um, so it's the first video here, but I was just going to go through my thoughts on Survivor 49. These are my power rankings as of episode 8. So if you don't want spoilers for the episode that happened yesterday, then I would recommend that you watch the episode and then maybe come back. I don't know why you would even click on this if you haven't watched, but anyways, we have 10 people left in the game to talk. Well, not left in the game, but starting things off at number 10, we're going to take a little moment to talk about the most recent boot from the season, which is MC. So when I was watching this episode, I personally did not expect MC to go here, but when you look back at the optics of it all, you do realize that MC 100% got voted out because of herself. She unnecessarily trusted Jawan with too much information, which ended up getting back to Yellow Sophie, which caused a divide there, and really just allows for Rizzo to kind of take control of this vote, and make MC the boot here, to which, although I wasn't expecting it while I was watching, when I look back on it, I think that it does make a lot of sense. But anyways, MC is out of the game now, so that is number 10. So now, starting off the actual power rankings, there are 9 people left in the game to talk about, and so we are ranking them based off of how likely I think they are to win the game at this current point in the season. Starting things off at number 9, the person that I believe is the least likely to win Survivor 49 is Yellow Sophie, or Sophie S, or whatever you want to call Sophie. So if I'm being completely honest, I fully expected Sophie to actually be the boot here, mainly because of the lack of screen time throughout the first 6 episodes of the season, where it really feels like she's only been included in the show for the last 2 episodes. So I thought that was not very good there. It seems like, for the most part of this episode, that Yellow Sophie survives this vote through, I wouldn't say good gameplay, but I mean, like, she has a little bit of a strategic mind to think about casting that soul vote on Jawan to force a tie if Rizzo plays his idol. Unfortunately, she ends up telling MC about this, which, I mean, I don't think it's terrible, but it ends up backfiring pretty badly, to where she really only survives because she is viewed as expendable, where she doesn't really have any allies in the game at this point, where it's like old Hina, she's very clearly at the bottom of that. She kind of gains a little bit of trust here with Rizzo and Savannah, but she's always going to be expendable to pretty much anybody, to where I don't really see any path for Yellow Sophie to win the game at this point. So which is why I put her at number 9. Moving on to number 8, the person I believe is the second least likely to win Survivor 49 is Christina. Now, I think that a lot of people, especially the early season, talk about how Yellow Sophie did not get a lot of screen time. I think as a whole, if you include the last 2 episodes, I think Christina has even less screen time, which obviously isn't great from an edit standpoint. In terms of a game standpoint, I don't really know who her allies are at this point, where it's like she has a bond with Steven, and it's like her, Steven, and Alex end up going end up going idol hunting to where she does get the idol, but it's like she could have maybe hit it, but instead she kind of like lets Steven and Alex know, and Alex doesn't particularly want her to have the idol, to where there's a very good chance that Alex will leak this information to someone like Soph, who has knowledge is power and could very easily take it. But just overall, Christina, I I don't think that she really has much of a path forward either. Where it's like, I think that she is kind of also expendable to the Hina group, and it's like, I guess the Hina group is kind of dead now, but it's like, I don't really see her. I think I could easily see her coasting by to like the final five maybe, but in terms of actually winning the game, I view it as incredibly unlikely to, or honestly possibly even impossible at this point. So that's why she's here at number 8. Moving on to number 7, and I was actually I think that a couple episodes ago, I think I could have had this person maybe as high as number 4, but I just feel like the recent episodes have just not really done anything to me for this person. So at number 7, I am actually going to go with Alex. So Alex was a very major part of the pre-merge portion of the season, where he is very, obviously with Kella losing everything and him being one of the survivors of that, he does end up getting a lot of screen time there, which is great. But in terms, especially like in the last like 2, maybe 3 episodes, it feels like Alex doesn't really matter that much to the show, like right now, where it's like he is part of the flip against Nate and Savannah and Rizzo, I guess. But it's also like he's just like putting himself in this like weird position where it's like, I don't know who he would even intend to go to the end of the game with, where it's like when they were on the Tribes of 4, he talks about how he wants to work with Yellow Sophie and all that, and Hina. But as soon as, in the recent episode, as soon as they get to the reward, Alex talks about how Yellow Sophie actually needs to go, and that's good for his game, where it's like, I don't know who he really views as his allies at this point, besides Blue Sophie. But overall, I don't really see Alex having any chance of winning the game at this point, especially because of just like him getting really nothing during the merge so far. So that's our number 7. Now number 6, I think you could argue that this person deserves to be below Alex, but they are very much, at least in my opinion, currently more involved in the dynamic of what is going on at this point. So at number 6, I did decide to go with Jawan. Now, if you're like my friends watching this, you know, I like Jawan. You know, if this was like just a ranking of how much I would want somebody to win the season, he'd probably be at like number 2, behind somebody that we'll talk about shortly coming up. But I think that Jawan, although he did make that flip on, I think it is impressive how Jawan and Sage, I'm just going to mention that because they're kind of somewhat interchangeable at this point, are still relatively in the middle, where it's like, I kind of expected more backlash from Savannah and Rizzo, but I guess it kind of didn't make sense for them to do that. In terms of the vote here, I think that of everyone, I think that Jawan kind of like plays not very optimally here, to where he very clearly did not want MC to go here. He probably would have preferred it to be. He probably would have preferred it to be either Yellow Sophie or Rizzo. I don't really think he has a preference, but it's like he doesn't really have any control over this vote. It's like I think that he could stay in the middle for a little bit, but I worry about his long-term prospects to where I do see a certain group of people just like decimating a different side to which eventually he just will become on the bottom. Where it's like I want Jawan to go far, but I have doubts that will happen, so I decided to put him here at number 6. Now moving on to number 5. And this person, I think that this person is somewhat likely to win the game if the events go in a completely opposite way to what I'm expecting. But at number 5, I did decide to go with Steven. So the thing is with Steven is that theoretically after the last vote, he should be in arguably the best position after that, where he has the likes of Alex trusting him. He has both Sage and Jawan on his side, and MC. Now MC's gone, and old Hina as well. So where he has basically 6 numbers by his side, which is great. The problem happens here where he does get edited this episode a little arrogant about how he talks about Savannah and Rizzo, and so finally getting to experience what it's like being on the bottom, and then the entire thing flips again to where you're kind of back on the top, so it's like that's not great for him. And I do see that if Savannah and Rizzo are able to take control of the game from this point, I do think that they view Steven as one of the biggest threats to where he will probably be a very soon target for them, where I think he is very likely to go out within the next 2 episodes. But I did decide to put him at number 5 because in the event that he is able to get his group together and actually take power back against Savannah and Rizzo, I think that he is one of the best in his group from an edit standpoint, where I do think that he would be very likely to win if that event were to occur, but I don't view it as particularly likely. So I put him here at number 5. Now moving on to number 4, and at number 4, I think you could argue that this person should be at number 5 instead, because they do have a very similar game to somebody that we've already talked about. But at number 4, I did decide to put Sage. So the thing is with Sage is that I think that she actually does have a good strategic mind, where she does know what probably should happen for her game. The problem is back-to-back weeks now in both episode 7 and 8, we see her not really getting the numbers to get what she wants, where it's like in episode 7 she wanted the target to be Savannah at the time, and because the players like Christina and Yellow Sophie, I don't know, wanted a more safe vote, that they ended up landing on Nate, which is probably not what Sage wanted. And then here once again she wants it to be Rizzo, but Sophie and MC are such a mess that she kind of can't. It just becomes impossible to get Rizzo out. And I do think that it is impressive how, despite it being so obvious, at least from a viewer standpoint, that she is targeting the likes of Savannah and Rizzo, I do think that she plays it pretty well, where it's obviously Savannah is Savannah, but it feels like the likes of Rizzo and Savannah still have trust with Sage a little bit, and Sage and Jawan, where it is very I don't think that she would end up being targeted by them, but I also don't think that she will be able to gather the numbers to actually make the move against them at this point, which is why I put her at number 4. Now moving on to number 3, and I think the top 3 was pretty clear, at least at this point in the game, but it's just a matter of ordering them. And so at number 3, I did decide to go with arguably the person that I would have put at number 1 last week, but at number 3 I am going to go with Soph. So once again, this is a very quiet episode for Soph, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think that in terms of like a position of getting to the end, I think that she is probably number 1. I think that she is the most likely person to make it to the end game at this point. I think that she shows very good instincts where it's like she's willing to separate from Savannah and Rizzo, which I may be telling Sage that could backfire on her in the future, but I don't think so. And overall, I think that with all of the power that Savannah, Rizzo, and herself hold at this point, with them now having a working relationship with Yellow Sophie, a somewhat possible relationship with Jawan and Sage even, I think that she will be able to easily make it to the end game. I don't know if she has it in her to win the game, where I do think that Savannah and Rizzo are more likely at this point, but I think that she is set up very well to where she is at number 3. Moving on to number 2, and funnily enough, I was very out on this person to where if I were to have made a power ranking of after episode 7, I honestly would have considered putting this person as low as number 8 even, but this episode, they do very clearly show the most impressive gameplay of anyone on this episode. So at number 2, I did put Rizzo. So the fact that Rizzo managed to enter a tribe where he should have been potentially a goner. He was very clear that he wasn't going to use his idol, which really gave Sage and Jawan the ammunition they needed to take this shot now. And yet, instead, MC and Sophie are a complete mess, where Sage and Jawan can't really take the shot at Rizzo just because of them quarreling over there. So Rizzo is able to get out of this tribal with an idol, with his number 1 ally having an extra vote, his number 2 ally having acknowledges power and potentially is able to use it to take Christina's idol, to where I think that their position is getting incredibly good, and the fact that he's able to keep his idol twice in a row, where he could have gone home, and now he's entering the final 9 with an idol that, who knows, maybe he won't even need to use it again next week. It's insane to me that he has gotten into such a good position after being in such a precarious one after the events of last week, but I am fully expecting Rizzo to make it farther into the game, where it's even if a move is made against Rizzo, I fully expect that move to be taking out the person at number 1 instead of Rizzo. So I did decide to put Rizzo here at number 2. Moving on to number 1, the person I believe is the most likely to win Survivor 49 out of the final 9 is pretty easily Savannah. So the thing is from a player standpoint, I don't think that Savannah is necessarily the best player of this season. I think that Rizzo has actually shown better strategic capabilities. the thing is with Savannah is that she is so clearly like the main character of the season, where it's like in this last episode alone she gets a very emotional segment. She gets, I believe, a whopping 13 confessionals where it's like I'm pretty sure the second most was Jawan with like 7. So the fact that she has like double the second place's confessionals in this episode is kind of crazy. And from a game standpoint, I think that things are actually starting to turn around, where it's like I fully expected her to honestly potentially be in danger here, but instead she wins the challenge. She is able to really set herself up pretty well, where it's like I think now the likes of Yellow Sophie is more open to working with them, which is going to be an essential number potentially and a shield. So it's like I think that keeping Yellow Sophie getting MC out is very good for Savannah's game. Now she has her side has 3 different advantages, that 2 of which nobody knows about, and then an idol that is scaring away the entire cast. And I just think that at this point, like, I think that the likes of Sage and Jawan, even if they want to get Savannah out, I don't think that the numbers are really going to be there. And even if they are, the advantages that they have on their side at this point makes me think that they are very likely to run the game from this point on. So I just decided to put Savannah at number 1. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.